Hello and good morning. I'm Joe Boncore, CEO of the Massachusetts Biotechnology Council. I'd like to welcome you all to this very important day for rare disease patients as we recognize a devastating disease called AADC deficiency. Now this morning you'll learn more about the disease, its diagnostic journey, the importance of advocacy, and most importantly, how you can get involved. You know, Massachusetts is the best place in the world for the life sciences. And I have seen firsthand the hope and the breakthroughs this industry can provide. My twin sons were born extremely premature, at less than 1 pound. They spent the first 4.5 months in the NICU fighting for their lives. Now, just last week, we celebrated their second birthday, thanks to the groundbreaking treatments our industry has developed. But for the 300 million patients around this world living with rare disease, they are looking for that same hope and those same breakthroughs. And I'm eager to be an advocate for each and every one of them. Now this morning, I'm honored to introduce two other incredible patient advocates, our co-hosts for the day, Kelly Hager and Bob Coughlin, who continue to bring awareness for rare and ultra-rare diseases. Kelly Hager founded the AADC Family Network 18 years ago to assist with research, education, and financial assistance for children suffering with AADC deficiency, like her daughter, Jillian. In addition to starting her own advocacy organization, Kelly's a registered nurse and specializes in pediatric, critical, palliative, and hospice care. Now, Kelly's primary goal is to help families whose children are suffering from a disabling illness remain safely at home instead of being hospitalized or placed in a residential setting. So I want to personally welcome Kelly to MassBio. Now, Bob Coughlin needs no welcome to MassBio. He is currently the Managing Director of Life Sciences at JLL, one of Massachusetts' largest real estate firms. He is also most recent past president and CEO of MassBio. Prior to MassBio, Bob served as the Undersecretary of Economic Development with Governor Deval Patrick's administration. And prior to that, he was elected as the state representative to the 11th Norfolk District for 3 consecutive terms. But lastly, and most importantly, Bob is a cystic fibrosis dad and a passionate advocate for patients everywhere. So, Kelly and Bob, take it away.
You know, Joe, thank you so much. And I wish you the best of luck in your new role as the CEO of the Massachusetts Biotechnology Council. Ladies and gentlemen, as Joe said, my name is Bob Coughlin, and I am so honored to be here today doing my favorite thing in the world, which is advocacy, patient advocacy, and helping work with companies so that we can come up with therapies and in some cases cures for diseases. Today, we're going to be talking about AADC deficiency. We'll be taking a look back at our 2020 Awareness Day, which was the first ever AADC Deficiency Awareness Day, and it was amazing. We're going to build off of it today. We're going to learn from a patient family about their diagnostic journey and about how awareness and advocacy can help the AADC community. And then we're going to get a little more information about gene therapy, folks. We're thinking future stuff and how it works and the technology behind it. And I'm so excited to be here along a dear friend of mine and a fellow patient advocate, a fellow patient, the one and only Kelly Hager, to talk more about her story. Over to you, Kelly.
Bob, thank you so much, especially for supporting us with AADC Awareness Day. I'm Kelly Hager. My husband, Bruce, and I have 4 children, all living home with us. And we also have 2 very well-behaved German Shepherd dogs. I'm an advocate, I'm a caregiver, and I'm an educator. Our daughter, Jillian, is the 4th child in the world diagnosed with AADC. And she actually inspired me to become a registered nurse. So I went back to school to obtain the skills required to care for our daughter, and more importantly, to speak effectively with physicians. I'm also the founder of the AADC Family Network. It's a nonprofit organization that promotes awareness, provides advocacy, and assists families suffering from AADC.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kelly, and thank you for being here today. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank all of you for being with us through social media today. And we've got such an exciting program. And I want to start it off by introducing Dr. Matthew Klein, who's the Chief Development Officer at PTC Therapeutics. Dr. Klein is no stranger to the industry. In his prior role before PTC, he was the CEO and Chief Medical Officer at BioElectron Technology Corporation, which is specializing with a rare disease company. Dr. Klein was formerly in full-time practice as a burn and trauma reconstructive surgeon working directly with injured children and adults and their families. He's a true patient advocate, and we are so excited to have him here with us this morning. Dr. Klein, why don't you start off by telling us what exactly is AADC deficiency?
Thank you, Bob, for the introduction. Before answering your question, as a doctor and drug developer, I want to emphasize why this day is so important. Having a rare disease poses many challenges for those affected by their disease and their families, not the least of which is when people, including doctors, have never heard of your disease. This lack of disease awareness impacts diagnosis, the potential for treatment, and prevents those affected by the disease to form a community of support and networking. That is why AADC Awareness Day is so important and why we at PTC are so proud to be part of it. Now to answer your question, what is AADC? AADC deficiency stands for aromatic L-amino acid deficiency. Let's just call it AADC. AADC is a severe disease that presents in infancy and results from a broken gene. As a result of this gene defect, patients are unable to make important chemicals in the brain, such as dopamine and serotonin. Dopamine is a chemical the brain needs for movement and activities like swallowing, crawling, standing, and walking. Therefore, due to a lack of dopamine, children born with AADC deficiency may never gain the ability to sit up, to crawl, to stand, or walk. In addition, children with AADC deficiency can suffer from malnutrition, recurrent infections, and are at risk to die in early childhood. So overall, AADC deficiency is a very severe, life-threatening disease without any approved therapies targeting the broken gene that leads to the disease.
Thank you so much, Dr. Klein, for that intricate description of AADC. What do you think right now is the outlook for patients with this disease?
Well, Kelly, as I mentioned, this is a very severe disease without any approved therapies that target the root cause of the disorder, which is the gene defect that leads to the low levels of chemicals in the brain. There are therapies that are used to support patients who have AADC deficiency, including some therapies that can increase low levels of chemicals in the brain. However, most of the available therapies provide variable results, and as I said, don't treat the underlying cause of disease, and unfortunately don't change the overall severe course of the disease. I'm proud that at PTC, we've been working very hard to develop a drug that targets the underlying cause of this disease by providing a working copy of the broken gene, and we'll hear more about that later.
You know, thank you so much, Dr. Klein. And we can't tell you how happy we are to be going from the golden age of science into the platinum age to talk about these specific treatments that treat specific genetic disorders. So thank you for that. And thank you for all of the amazing work that you and all of your colleagues do at your company to solve this unmet medical need. And folks, one of the reasons raising awareness is so important is to increase the probability of achieving a correct diagnosis early. And speaking of awareness, I think it's so important that we take a look back at how this Awareness Day kicked off back in 2020. Let me tell you why I'm so excited, folks. I'm excited because awareness days are so important. I spent a lot of time working on these issues. In fact, I created the first cystic fibrosis awareness day because I have a son with CF. I know what we're going to talk about today from a parent standpoint, and I also know that as a former legislator, we need you. Battling this disease daily is a young woman named Jillian Hager. Jillian is a young girl whose mother, Kelly Hager, founded the AADC Family Network 17 years ago.
Our daughter Jillian is the fourth child in the world diagnosed with AADC, aromatic L-amino acid decarboxylase deficiency. As she started to develop, I knew something was wrong. She felt like limp in my arms. She felt listless, like she like a rag doll. Despite Jillian's illness, though, we are determined to give Jillian the best life possible, and we have. We have done everything with Jillian that we did with our other kids. Our mission is to help families in all areas of AADC. I want to help families with awareness. I want to help them with advocacy, not just advocacy for this disease, but advocacy for themselves and their children, to help support them, help educate them, and help them even with financial assistance, because we all know this is not easy. Keeping a family together is not easy. And when one family loses their job because they have to take care of a sick kid, not easy. One day I will walk. One day I will talk. Today I can smile.
Next, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to hear from Dr. Irina Anselm, who's the director of mitochondrial program and co-director of the neurometabolic program at Boston Children's Hospital.
I was privileged to be Jillian's neurologist for the past 10 years. Patients with AADC deficiency, they usually are developmentally delayed. They do not reach developmental milestones. They do not sit, they do not walk, they do not talk. They also have ocular gyri crisis. Their eyes are driven to one side, and this is because of the spasm of eye muscles, and this also may last for hours.
Our final speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is Dr. Matthew Klein of PTC Therapeutics.
As we have heard today, having a rare disease like AADC deficiency poses many challenges for both patients and their families, not the least of which is when people, including doctors, have never heard of your disease. This lack of disease awareness impacts diagnosis, the potential for developing treatments, and prevents those affected by the disease to form a community of support and sharing of information.
And people often say that, rare diseases are rare. Well, it's not rare to the family and the patient that's going through it. And when you combine all these different rare genetic disorders, there's a lot of them out there, folks. So we cannot advance the science and we cannot solve unmet medical need if we do not have support from our partners in government. We're all in this together. And the, giving up isn't an option, is it? Together. And the, giving up.
Wow, I can't believe it's already been a year. Where's the time go? I actually love seeing the photos of my family and our journey. I guess it's a gentle reminder that together we do great things. Jillian today, though, she still fights every single day. Sadly, she wakes up with gagging and nausea and vomiting. And so I start my day with her by removing her from her ventilator. And I have to clear her airway, and it takes me hours to do this. So I do suctioning orally, suctioning tracheally, and then I'm really trying hard to get her comfortable because, she still is very rigid. She's got abnormal posturing, as was described earlier by Dr. Klein. She's got eye deviation and forced neck rotation. She goes into like an epistatonus type posture, which means all your limbs basically extend out, your back arches. And this is all because she's very, very uncomfortable. It's really not easy. It's very, very difficult. She requires 24/7 nursing care. And all of our hours actually can't be filled. So I'm actually providing a good 50, 60, sometimes 70 hours a week for her. And it becomes extremely exhausting. So I don't want to, be a negative person about this because I'm positive. So on a positive note, we make it work. So although I just described to you how horrible it is for these kids and for my daughter every day, I'm silly with her. So, I sing and I dance. My background was when I was younger, I was a cheerleader, so I do some of that as well. And we do lots of things with Jillian. I want everybody to know that once I get her up and going for the day, she has a beautiful day. Yeah, she has intermittent, problems throughout the day because the disease just doesn't go away. But we do work very, very hard to give her the best quality of life we can.
Kelly, I want to say something else positive. I think we both look better this year than we did last year. How about that? In my case, I think it's all the makeup that we're using because we're live. And again, how amazing is this, ladies and gentlemen? Last year, we had to do this completely remotely. Today, we're somewhat remote, but somewhat together, and it's awesome. And we're moving in the right direction. Last year, we have legislation for AADC Deficiency Awareness Day introduced right here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. But also, I want you to know, and we're going to ask you a question. So it's trivia time, ladies and gentlemen. So get ready for answers in your chat, because we want you to do this as the program runs on. I have a question for you. Which 3 states are marking this day today with legislation in 2021? Last year, we introduced it in Massachusetts. This year, we have 3 states that are doing it. So if you're watching us live on Facebook, put your answers in the chat, and we're going to come back to you later on. Okay? So please do it.
And while you're answering that question, we'd like to talk more about the diagnostic journey that families go through to arrive at an AADC diagnosis. We're going to show you a video that depicts the journey for one amazing family, Judy, Richard, and their daughter, Riley.
I'm Judy.
My name is Rich.
Riley is 3 years old. She just turned 3.
She was born on April Fool's Day, 2018, so that was a unique story. Everyone thought we were joking. There was no issues whatsoever.
I would constantly text Rich saying, is she sitting it? Is she grabbing it?
Just being a mom.
The message would always come and say, no, not yet. One day, Rich did see her eyes rolled up.
And a little bit of tongue thrust and tensing of muscles. So I'd see her kind of just tense up.
She was doing it every 3 days. I tracked everything. I tracked the time. I tracked her food. I tracked
when she went to the bathroom.
I tracked her sleep, and I tracked
call it
the spell. Finally, it was that day where we just had to rush to the ER because she kept doing it, and we thought it was epilepsy.
So we rushed over to the ER and
in the rain.
In the rain, yeah. I still remember that at night. And they gave her a form of like diazepam, stops the seizure right then and there.
And they wouldn't let us take her home that night, so we went back home with just a baby stroller.
First time we were separated from her.
Yeah, so she had to stay in the ICU for 2-3 nights.
Yeah. And they continued to say it was epilepsy.
Yeah. So we gave her phenobarbital.
That was the worst.
And she was just basically sleeping all the time because she was having that medication. They had to observe her. They're like, you need to admit her. And
so they have this rainbow hat on her, and she's got to be under with the camera because they want to see it. They want to see it happen. So we put her in this helmet, and one of the good things was, I remember
it's called EEG.
Yeah, the EEG. The technician there was like, hey, we got it because she did it. We finally got it on the EEG.
Yeah, she was so happy, but she's like, nothing is wrong with her
brain waves are fine. It's fine. The brain is intact. So whatever this is not the brain. Oh, there was a little breath thing.
Yeah.
But then we switched doctors, and then they were saying it was dystonia. L-Dopa didn't do anything. This other medicine put her to sleep, so we didn't listen to the doctor. We already knew the phenobarbital story, so we got rid of that. So now we're on our own, and again...
One night, I get a text message from my brother saying, this article's about this child who has AADC. All the symptoms Riley has. She's dystonia, OGC, hypotonia, she can't sit up, she's limp. And it was Christmas Eve, we were there, sitting outside the doctor's office. So we walk in, and he just looks at her, and he's like, yep, she has it, but we still need to
run the
test. My heart just, I don't know how I felt at the time. I just thought it was over. And before I even asked anything, I was like, is she going to be able to walk one day? And he said, she probably won't live past 2 years old.
Boy, their journey sounds so much like ours. Such similarities, listening to their journey brings back so many memories. The fear, the unknown, the emotional roller coaster that you go through, it's just so overwhelming. I can relate to what Judy and Richard experienced because we too had a very similar story. The child's irritability, the poor feeding, the temperature instability, the part about them walking in the rain, we were walking in the snow. And so it truly touches my heart to hear that another family has gone through what we are going through and still going through, especially the oculogeric crises. And that's a key feature, it's distinct. Their eyes rolling back and they get stuck and they're darting side to side. They're stiff and uncomfortable and crying. And so, I shouldn't say thankfully they have a diagnosis, but the diagnosis is what helps. It's what's going to help the children lead and get a better future, have a better quality of life. Without it, they basically would have suffered for years. So, you know, I always say, believe in your inner spirit and never give up hope. And I'm so glad that Judy and Richard didn't, and they kept going because they got their diagnosis.
Yeah, thanks so much, Kelly, and thank you for sharing and your commentary around these stories. They're so difficult. And I can tell, guys, I'm not too ashamed to admit it. I did bring my box of Kleenex. If you need them at home, feel free to grab a box for yourself now. But it's sad, yet it's happy, and it's hope, and it's all those emotions. And it's so important to know that advocacy, folks, is critical, especially when those cases are so difficult to diagnose. Okay, and think about it. Think of the despair that parents are feeling when they're wondering what the heck is going on. So one, advocacy is important. Awareness is important, diagnosis is important, and then raising funds for research is important. And we're going to talk about that as we close up today. And again, you heard a little bit about on our recap from last year. I got into this not because I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist. I was a politician that had a kid with cystic fibrosis, and I didn't know what the heck to do other than be an advocate. So when you look at and the message that I try to relay to all of you and our friends in the AADC deficiency community, hope is so important. And you know, the advocacy work that we've done in cystic fibrosis, I'm so happy to say that yesterday was the 2-year anniversary of when a drug that was finally approved by the FDA. It was 2 years ago yesterday that my son got a drug for his cystic fibrosis that's keeping him alive today. It took 18 years and $13 billion to get there, but we never give up, and we never give up hope. And I love how you closed out your comments talking about hope, because it is so important. Hope, resilience, tenacity, and what's the alternative? We're not going to let anything else happen bad to our kids. So we're going to keep going. So guys, back to you, Kelly. I just want you to keep the hope and keep being such an inspiration for all of us.
Absolutely. Bob, this is amazing. And, you know, congratulations on everything you've done with cystic fibrosis, because without people like you, means people like me don't have the spirituality to keep going, and your energy just lifts me.
Oh, thank
You're
you.
Just amazing.
Thank you. It's called hyperactivity, I think, but whatever.
Well, advocacy, you know, is hard work, but making a difference is a beautiful reward. And bringing inspiration and empowering families to stay strong is so important. You know, I feel looking back that I actually had a spiritual awakening. It's overwhelming to have your life flipped upside down, but something in my soul said, stay positive. And that allowed me to learn and grow. And, you know, I feel blessed. I've got an angel living with me.
You bet.
So, Bob, what is your best piece of advice?
I mean, I'd continue what you were just saying. I mean, my piece of advice to any parents that are dealing with any type of adversity, right? Adversity doesn't discriminate. This can happen to anybody. And it's not about what's happening to you. It's about how you react to it. And hope and faith and just optimism is so important. And that's why the word hope has and that's why I love the life sciences industry. And that's why I love all these amazing heroes, these angels that go to work every day to solve medical need. I mean, we have to do it, Kelly, right? We have to advocate for our kids. But think of all these people that go to work every day so that they can help solve unmet medical need for your daughter and for my son and everybody. Guys, everybody out there in the audience knows and loves somebody who's experiencing an unmet medical need. This isn't just us. So my big thing is, let's all continue to spread the word. Let's, shout from the mountaintops, because no one else is going to do it for us. Right. Nobody. So we all need to do that together. So I could go on forever about that, and we don't have enough time. So I'm going to go back to the trivia questions about those states. So all of you guys, I hope you got your answers in, because I'm going to tell you the 3 states that are the correct answers today. 3 amazing states here in the United States of America where their legislators are standing up to support us. It takes academia, industry, and leaders in government to create an environment so that you can cure diseases and create new therapies for diseases. And the answers are California, New Jersey, and certainly, last but not least, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So if you answered California, New Jersey, and Massachusetts, you were correct. I don't know what you get for a prize. We'll figure that out after. But I want to call out the legislators from those states who have been real champions to the life science industry and to AADC deficiency. loved ones, families, patients, etc. Let's start out with Senator Melissa Melendez in California, Assemblywoman Verlina Reynolds Jackson of New Jersey, Senator Shirley Turner of New Jersey, Governor Phil Murphy down in New Jersey, and then our own Senator Brendan Creighton right here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and my former colleague and friend, Representative Brad Jones, who's the majority leader in the House of Representatives here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. You know, we're really excited. And again, Massachusetts became a great place for this industry because of our partners in government. The United States of America is leading the way in innovation because of partnership that we get from the NIH and what we get from the FDA and what we get from our leaders in the House. And I'm really excited to introduce this next message from our own Congressman Steve Lynch, who's going to tell you about a new resolution at the federal level. And I want to thank Congressman Lynch. He's been a lifelong friend of mine. He's my congressman. He's my buddy. And I'm just so happy that he could join us here today with this very important message. Over to you, Congressman Lynch.
Hello, everyone. I'm Congressman Steve Lynch, as representative of the 8th Congressional District of Massachusetts. It is my distinct honor to participate in the 2021 AADC Deficiency Awareness Day. I want to thank the tireless advocacy, research, and support services led by the AADC Family Network and the unwavering dedication of families affected by the AADC deficiency, including my own constituents, the Heger family of Bridgewater, Massachusetts. We are together continuing to raise awareness and make significant progress towards finding a cure for this devastating disease. I am proud to contribute to this important mission by introducing the AADC Deficiency Awareness Day resolution. With my colleague, Representative Greg Murphy of North Carolina, this bipartisan resolution reflects our shared commitment to highlighting the challenges associated with AADC deficiency and its treatment. I'd like to thank Kelly and Bruce Heger and their daughter Jillian and the entire Heger family for their good work. I'd also like to thank CEO Joe Boncore from the Mass Biotech Council and former Representative Bob Coughlin, my dear friend, as well as PTC Therapeutics and ClearPoint Neuro for their partnership. I look forward to working with all of you as we continue to shine a light on AADC deficiency. Thank you. Deficiency.
Hey, thank you so much, Congressman Lynch. We really appreciate your support and friendship. And also, do us a favor and thank Congressman Greg Murphy, your colleague from North Carolina, for helping us out as well. He's a medical doctor. He understands this stuff. It's great to have bipartisan work like yourself and he working together to help challenge these complicated, unmet medical needs. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to ask you another question, all right? And we want you to think long and hard about this. We want you to type the answer into the comments. On average, how long does it take to get a rare disease diagnosis? We've talked, part of the theme today is how difficult diagnosis is and how important it is. Well, I think you're going to be amazed to know, on average, how long does it take to get a rare disease diagnosis? Throw in an amount of years, months, range of years, just put something in there and we'll get back to it a little bit later. Over to you, Kel.
And while you're answering that question, we want to turn the topic over to gene therapy, which is being investigated as a potential treatment for AADC. I hear from a lot of parents and caregivers that gene therapy can be very difficult to understand. So let's take a look at a video made by PTC Therapeutics that breaks down the basics of gene therapy.
This is Ita, one of PTC's gene therapy scientists. And this is Ita's lab, where she studies human genes. Ita wonders, what if a therapy could treat more than just the symptoms of a rare genetic disorder? What if a therapy could address its underlying genetic cause? What if a therapy could replace or repair a body's defective gene? And what if this therapy could do it with a single treatment rather than a lifetime's worth of medication? Ita studies human genes. But what exactly are genes? Genes are found within our body's cells, and they're made up of our DNA. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, and it's kind of like our body's built-in manual. The DNA in our genes tells our body what our traits are. The genetic characteristics pass down from parents to children, like skin, hair, and eye color, as well as how the body should function. Genes also provide the instructions by which our body makes its building blocks, or proteins. These proteins help support our important functions, like how to digest food, how to make energy, and how to grow. Genes don't always work the way they were intended. Sometimes there can be an alteration within a gene, called a genetic mutation. This can cause our body to make too much or not enough of these proteins, which can hurt our bodies and alter some of our body's functions. That's why genetic disorders often lead to problems with eating, sleeping, moving, growing, or even living. That's also why scientists study genes, to learn how to replace or repair the ones that don't quite work right. Gene therapy is a way to treat the diseases that are caused by genetic mutations. Doctors take a new working copy of a defective or missing gene to make up for the gene that is missing or broken. When the new working gene is in place, the body's DNA can start providing the correct instructions again and make the necessary proteins. It's possible the body can then resume important functions such as digesting food, making energy, and even growing. Scientists like Ida don't know how far gene therapy can take us when it comes to treating rare and serious genetic disorders. But we do know we are determined to find out.
You know, I just want people to understand why we all should be and are so excited about a video like this and about the science and innovation that's taking place around gene therapy, gene modification, messenger RNA stuff, et cetera, okay? And when I explain to people in lay people terms, why is this? Well, we've gone from the golden age of science into the platinum age. This means that we're not, as an industry, science isn't trying to invent pills that treat the symptoms of disease. They're actually treating therapies that treat the underlying cause of disease, in some cases change the path of the disease, and in some cases maybe even could cure the disease. I remember years ago we were afraid to use the cure word because it would create false expectation. Well, this is reasonable things to think about, ladies and gentlemen, so we're so excited about it. But we do know that gene therapy treatments for the brain require very innovative technology. We've got another video that will help us understand some of the technology that goes into these amazing advances for the potential treatment of rare diseases. And this video, folks, is coming from our friends at ClearPoint Neuro in California.
Genetic disorders, such as AADC deficiency, make it difficult for nerve cells to talk to each other. Children with this disorder have developmental delays, weak muscle tone, and movement challenges. They have other symptoms too, like droopy eyelids, stiff muscles, and stomach problems. These symptoms are usually visible within the first few months of life. Gene therapies to treat such diseases are in development, but they require a high degree of precision to get to the affected parts in the brain. Neurosurgeons can use stereotactic systems to target locations deep within the brain. Physicians can use these tools to pinpoint the precise location in the brain where the gene therapies should be delivered. In gene therapy clinical research trials, physicians use the ClearPoint platform and real-time MRI imaging during surgery so that only a small incision is necessary to deliver the gene therapy to the patient. Being able to see inside the brain under live image guidance helps neurosurgeons guide their planned trajectory with submillimetric accuracy. The patient's head is stabilized and a smart grid is applied to the scalp. This grid serves as a coordinate map for the surgeon to identify the entry points in the research trials. High-resolution MRI scans of the patient's brain can be viewed in the ClearPoint Workstation software. These scans are used to identify the planned trajectory to the target. The software then pinpoints the location of the incision. The ClearPoint smart frame is placed over the incision and secured to the skull. The software checks for discrepancies and recommends adjustments to the frame to ensure the accuracy to the planned target. The neurosurgeon is able to make these adjustments through a color-coded hand controller. Once alignment is confirmed, the SmartFlow cannula is inserted into the brain. The cannula is visible on MRI to confirm target accuracy. An injection pump inside the MRI suite is used in the research trials to deliver the gene therapy. The infusion can be monitored in real time by the physician to confirm that the therapy is being delivered to the correct location in the brain. We are proud to help neurosurgeons and our biologics and drug delivery partners treat patients with severe neurological disorders. Patients are the first priority, always. ClearPoint Neuro, innovating neurosurgery for patient comfort and targeted treatment. This video is for educational purposes only. It is meant to provide an introduction to the research and development work in progress for the treatment of neurological conditions. Gene therapies using the ClearPoint platform, ClearPoint Workstation, ClearPoint SmartFrame, and SmartFlow cannula are currently in clinical research phase. All forms of procedures performed in the brain can pose serious risks. Speak to your child's physician to understand more about their condition and what approved therapies may be available.
Hey, folks, how amazing is that? I guess this is the point where we need to thank folks at our friends at ClearPoint and PTC Therapeutics and the companies that have decided to tackle these very challenging diseases where they're not going to have a lot of patients to take these therapies at the end of the day. It's so important that, rare diseases, I've said it before, aren't rare to the people who have it. And it's just so amazing. So I would be remiss if we didn't thank all of the amazing companies out there in the life sciences industry that have made it a decision to tackle rare genetic and orphan diseases. I want to segue right now into the question about diagnosis. We've been watching the answers come in, ladies and gentlemen, and according to the National Organization for Rare Disorders, as you guys know, and we all know is NORD, NORD's an amazing organization that advocates for rare and orphan diseases. The average time to achieve diagnosis is 7 to 8 years. So you folks that put 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, I get it. Who would think that it takes 7 to 8 years to diagnose something that's actually killing a person, killing, in many cases, a baby, right? So, we need to fix this. And awareness is the way that we fix it. Days like today is how we fix it. Getting the word out is how we fix it. Kelly, what are your thoughts?
Well, 7 to 8 years is way too long, especially when there is a possibility for earlier diagnosis. It often means that, a child is going to get better quality of life. And like my daughter, we're very, very thankful. We're lucky. We were told that she would have died that night had we not brought her to the hospital because her temperature was so low. And that's part of this disease. As a parent, you don't realize that you got to take your baby's temperature because they're cold. You only do it because you think they have a fever. So it was very challenging for us to get our diagnosis. And that's why it's so imperative to spread awareness, not just to the community, but to physicians and specialists. They need to know about this too, because if they don't know about it, they can't diagnose it. And if they don't recognize the symptoms, then you don't get your diagnosis. And hopefully in the very near future, we're going to have more kids getting diagnosed and then hopefully get gene therapy, because that's the goal for us. Bob, something, I want to thank you so much for your support today. This is just incredible. Sharing your achievements. It's just amazing what you've done. You truly inspire me.
Well, now you're going to make me cry. I was just saying during one of the videos that I didn't cry that much today, but I can't help but just be so honored to be here with you because you're a rock star. And you inspire all of us and your family story and so many others. It's not for everybody to get up here and talk about it. It's hard, but we need to do it. And we need all of you to help. The story that we have with cystic fibrosis is great. My kid's doing great, but there's still 10% of the community that doesn't have a drug. We're not going to give up till that 10% has a drug. And we're not going to give up until every single patient that's experiencing unmet medical need, no matter how rare it is. We're not going to give up until there is a drug for those patients, because that's what we all need to do. And Kelly, I guess we have an amazing audience here today. We have so many people who are engaged. We have people that want to do something. What would you ask? Is there anything in the audience of the folks watching in the audience can do to help today?
Absolutely. You know, we would love it if all of you could just share what you've learned today about AADC deficiency with your friends and your family members. You never know when that information might help someone. You can also like us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter by searching for AADC Family Network on whichever platform you choose. We also invite you to visit the aadcfamilynetwork.org, where you can learn more and maybe make a donation, because you know, a donation is going to help all these families and these patients that are living with AADC deficiency. They actually, for gene therapy, are going to have to travel, and that's going to be expensive and hard on the family. So anything that you can do would be greatly appreciated. And as Jillian says, and we still pray every day, one day I will walk, one day I will talk, but today I can smile. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Kelly. Again, unbelievable. Unbelievable. And I can't thank you enough and your family for sharing your story and everything that you're doing for everybody with AADC deficiency. And I'm optimistic she will walk, she will talk. And you know, for now, thank God she keeps smiling. And she smiles because she has a wonderful family and a lot of friends and people who love her around her. So thank you. And folks, I want to thank everyone in the audience. And I'd be remiss if prior to that, I didn't thank Joe Boncore, Kendall O'Connell from Mass Bio, Dr. Matthew Klein, PTC Therapeutics, ClearPoint Neuro, all of the patients, caregivers, advocates, legislators, and supporters who've worked to make AADC Deficiency Awareness Day such a success 2 years in a row. And we're going to keep doing it. We want to thank you all for watching, and keep going, guys. And remember, the patients are waiting, and we will never, ever, ever give up. And I'm betting on us, because we can do it. So thank you. Take care and have a wonderful weekend. Thank you again. Goodbye.